How are you?
Good, how are you?
Fantastic.
Our first YouTube session.
Oh, yes, it is.
I'm very excited.
Same here. Many people have been thinking about entrepreneurship, and you are an expert when it comes to that field because you're a successful entrepreneur. So, how about you tell us a little bit more about that? And to begin with, tell us about your journey into entrepreneurship.
Okay, so basically, when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's funny you were mentioning COVID because I feel that since COVID, my journey within entrepreneurship has also shifted. Like looking at things like doing podcasts and being more out there, if that makes sense, has been the new thing for me. And it's an ongoing journey where you keep on learning new things about yourself, which is pretty cool when you are able to explore. But to take you back to my personal journey, I basically used to work in public relations. I used to have a corporate job. I did that for probably like over 10 years. Okay. My soul, it was sucked out of me because I hated it. Like the idea of just being in a place where time was not mine.
Tell me about it.
Was like, I just could. I remember once I just moved to Dubai and I was working my ass off like every day from 8:30. I would be in the office. I would leave when it's like nighttime. Yeah. I was stuck in an office. There's very like I couldn't see daylight, and there was this one day where I got a flu, and I took a sick leave, so I was able to leave a little bit earlier, and that's when I had my like aha moments because I left. And I was driving and I was seeing daylight and I was just thinking, wow, this is amazing. Like I can actually get out of the office. And that to me was like something that I felt I needed ownership of. Like I needed to have ownership of my time. And alongside a lot of other things that I don't think so in a nutshell, I think I always knew and felt that I wanted to do something else. I always knew and felt that I had this kind of urge to do something else. Yeah. And going even way more back in my journey, I remember like one of my first jobs, I was supposed to promote our clients. Okay. So we had a bunch of like clients and I was supposed to put them on magazine covers and articles and back in those days it was like press releases and stuff like that.
Pretty much the whole PR thing. Yeah.
The whole PR thing. And within the first month I was in that job, I was able to secure all these people, a spot in somewhere. Yeah. And I would look at all these people and I was just thinking, why am I putting these people on a magazine? I can put myself on a magazine.
Exactly. That's the mindset.
But when you know that you're able, you say, why am I working my ass to make someone else richer or more? I can work on me and I can make me that person, and there was always that stuff in the back of my head. But moving forward to your question, that's like 7 or 6, I don't know how many minutes we spoke about.
Oh, that's fine.
But we're used to this. So how it started was I met my business partner who was in the PR firm as well. I think it was 8 years ago. And we both were very passionate about food. Yeah. So she had just come back from Bali and she did a raw cooking course and she was just turning vegan. So we started, talking back and forth, and then she said, why don't we host a dinner? And I said, yeah, let's do that. So we started hosting all these like pop-up dinners around town and we would create everything from scratch and it would be like a full-on, experience. And so we did that a few times, started getting traction, and then people were like, why don't you start another YouTube page, an Instagram page? Yeah. Another YouTube page, an Instagram page. Yeah. So we're like, okay, let's start an Instagram page. So we started an Instagram page. And then, that started getting traction. And then we started getting interest from Jordan. So we started getting a lot of catering events in Jordan. And, slowly people started knowing us. And we're like, well, why don't we just open a restaurant? Yeah. And the thing is, when you don't have F&B experience, it's very difficult no one gives you a booklet to tell you how to run a business. I think it's one of these things that you need to learn as you go. And oh boy, we learned a lot of things in those couple of years. A lot of things.
And we are listening. Spill the tea.
We are listening. I mean, there's a lot of tea. I don't know where to start. Like when it comes to, look, if you want to do your own thing, you need to understand that it's important to be a multitasker. So social media, managing, books, employees, HR, like everything. And your time is not the same because you're basically working for yourself. There's two things that people need to be aware of, Stefan, which are when you're an employee and you hate your job, if you love it, great, good on you, stay there.
Yeah.
But if you don't like it, it's very nice to know that when the weekend hits, you don't give a damn about work. Halas. You have a weekend, you can do whatever the hell you want, you don't have to think about work. But when you have your own business, you're thinking about it every single day. So I haven't had a day off since 2015. Not a single day. Like every single day, there would be something work-related that I need to check in on. So that's one thing that people need to be aware of. And the difference is, remember, and the difference is you need to also know that when you're doing something that you love, time, you don't feel that it's a job. Because you're enjoying it, but you are working.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well then, guys, you know what? Many people often think that to actually have their own business, it means having more free time, which is quite the opposite, actually. It may seem as though you have more free time because that's something that you are passionate about, that's something that you love. As opposed to when you have a job, you may not always like your job, and then every day basically feels like you're draining yourself.
Yeah.
You know? And that's pretty much that, actually. So if you want to go into entrepreneurship, you have to keep in mind that it may not be easy and it requires actually more time and more energy than when you are actually an employee. Now, moving forward, I would like to, I would like you to tell us some of the challenges that you faced along the way. Like, what was the some of the roadblockers, because I believe you can't tell us everything.
Yeah. There's a lot. There were so many roadblocks alongside this journey. I mean, I think every single year there would be one major contributor to like a roadblocker.
Yeah.
Let's just call it that. Aside from the daily roadblockers that you would face, which are, someone got sick and someone, like the usual things. But COVID was definitely a roadblocker. Learning things that you don't usually know. Again, no one gives you a manual when you're starting your business. I mean, I have a business degree. I have a bachelor's in business, but I don't remember anything that I studied, to be honest. Like from university, I can't remember anything that I studied. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. One of the years, we had just started, right? And the restaurant's called Little Earth, and Little Earth, mark it down. And when we started, it was getting so much traction. It was very popular. Veganism was trending, and everyone was like really into that scene. And we're a small, quaint little neighborhood restaurant in JLT. It was just the place to be, for vegans. And we started getting a lot of media traction. We were building up the brand. We're still new. And then we realized the hard way that we had to register the trademark, which is the first thing that you should be doing. But we didn't know that. So the name of the brand was something else back then. It was similar, but it was something else. And we got someone telling us, you need to rebrand. And here we were thinking, whoa, like we're building this image. Yeah. And it's been 2 years of us working our asses off, investing in marketing and social media and all that stuff. And now we need to like rebrand.
And that's the whole process, guys, by the way, rebranding.
Rebranding was, I'm going to say it was a nightmare, but at the same time, it was definitely a blessing in disguise. So every year when we had a challenge, and this is something that kind of learned the hard way is that the universe always has things hidden for you. And I think they're always hidden for the greater good. So when you think, oh my God, this is the end of the world because a challenge like this happened, you start realizing, no, hang on, there's actually a silver lining that comes out of it.
Yeah.
COVID was such a difficult year, but there were so many silver linings to COVID.
True.
We learned how to operate at maximum capacity with less staff. We managed to manage our food costs. We learned how to do everything virtually. We learned that we don't have to physically be in every single location. We can actually manage things from a distance. So there were so many things that we actually learned the hard way, but they were so beneficial for us in the long run.
Yeah, of course.
So I'll tell you this, every single day is a challenge.
Yeah.
Every single day you learn something new. And I think once you've done it for a few years, you just build this kind of skin layer where you think, whoa. Like, I had a challenge this morning, actually. And I thought, how would I deal with this if this was me 5 years ago? I would have freaked out. I would have probably canceled this YouTube session. I've said, you know what?
Okay, he's talking about this session. Yeah.
I would cancel today's session because I would have been so stressed. But today I woke up, I was like, this is what it is. There's a solution to everything. The show is going to move on. We'll manage. We managed.
So guys, you heard that? The show has to go on. And
Always. The show always, if you're starting your own business, whatever field you're in, whether it's whatever, I think it's important to know that you're setting yourself against a challenge, and every single day is going to be a challenge.
Oh, sure.
And every single day you're going to have to work. So you're not going to have a lot of days off until you actually manage to kind of have the business running itself. And
That's so accurate. And now, I mean, there's a question that you might be asking yourself, and I'm going to ask him that. Don't worry, I got your back.
You got my back as well, I hope.
So, you tell me, there has been COVID, okay? And suddenly there's been this huge move towards digitalization. I mean, that's something that was happening before COVID already, but I think COVID kind of like fast forwarded everything towards the digital.
Yeah.
What role has digitalization played in your particular case?
When you say digital, are you referring to social media or what exactly?
It could be social media, it could be in terms of marketing, it could be in terms of everything, basically turning your business more digital. And of course, you as an entrepreneur, you'd become automatically a content creator as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
totally.
exactly. So what role has that played into your business? How has it enhanced everything?
Look, since before COVID, I think the world was becoming more digital. I struggle with that word. Digitalized.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to notice it a lot. But when COVID happened, it's as you said, it fast forwarded.
Yeah.
We started realizing that, for instance, with Instagram, we started realizing that grid posts were no longer a thing. People want to see, people are too late, they have a short attention span, but they want to be entertained.
Yeah.
So they want to see reels. And I was just thinking, oh God, like
Something else.
something new, something like a new challenge. We need to create content. We need to become videographers now. You know what I mean? It was really kind of just another thing. But then I think as you kind of move along with the trends, you start realizing, oh my God, this is fun, and it actually does make a difference. So we started looking at that. When it comes to like digitizing, so I would say like a year before COVID, for restaurants, QR code menus were a thing.
Yeah.
And you start realizing that, okay, well, instead of you printing menus, you can have a QR code to scan and have a menu visible on your phone. And that's going to cost you a lot of money. It's going to save you a lot of money because you're not printing. So it's good for the environment. It's good for
Sustainability plan, guys.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I can think about from the top of my head. What else? I think social media primarily was the main thing. And just being digitalized in terms of being able, because all the online platforms for online delivery are becoming very advanced.
Yeah.
So you can I can see everything from my iPad. and manage everything. I can see my staff from my iPad. I can be the little spy on my iPad. I can know exactly what's happening in so you have a better understanding of what's going on with less physical appearance, if that makes sense.
That is just amazing to hear, actually, because guys, when you go into a new business venture, and regardless of your industry, like you mentioned previously, you have to keep in mind that we are in 2022, in this era whereby everything is basically digital, and whatever business you may think to go for, you need to keep it and keep in mind and ask yourself that how effective can I apply digitalization to this? Like, can I use the digital platform for my business? Because if you cannot, then it is not future proof. And when I say future proof is what? I mean, there could be another pandemic tomorrow. There could be something that's happening tomorrow.
It's, you know what, Stefan? I think it's that, and it's also the fact that because, you know, from my industry, I meet a lot of people that are in fashion, they're in well-being, corporates, whatever field they're in. And I because we always follow each other on social media. So FYI, follow us on social media.
Oh, wow.
Nabs and G, NABZ, ANDG.
You heard that.
On Instagram. That's like just an FYI. No, but in all seriousness, I think when it comes to industries, everyone is on socials. Like your social media is actually your identity and what you want to say to the world. Don't believe everything you see on social media. That is very important because you're just putting on your best picture. I think there's a lot of, I wish we could have like a session where we can talk about the real faces behind, like not the real faces. I don't know what we would call it, but
you can see faces because I haven't seen many people with pimples like me on Instagram.
No, but what I mean by that is like, you know how on social media everyone shows their best face, as in, you know, everything is great, everything is wonderful, everything is just fantastic. But then when you meet them in real life, you're like, is that you?
Yeah.
That's like something interesting to talk about.
We're gonna make an episode about that.
We should.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, guys, if any of you wants to jump in,
you can join us. Yeah, you can join us. We'll pull an extra chair and you can join us.
There's always an extra chair or sofa.
Yeah. Let's go back to topic.
Okay. So that's amazing, and I see that digitalization can actually enhance your business.
Yeah.
And now, what advice would you give anyone out there? Let's say they have a plan, they have a business plan, they want to go about establishing their own business. Let's say if you have to give few steps, okay, what step would you give them and things to look out for?
That's a great question. Honestly, that's such a great question, because I think being ready for whatever you want to start is such an essential part of starting a business. I personally did not do that, which is, I think it was just sheer luck for me to kind of enter an industry that is so highly competitive and just manage to kind of skim through the journey. But what I will say based on my experience is you need to do a lot of research. So yeah, you need to do a lot of research. You need to know who your competition is. You need to know all the, just speak to people that are in that industry. If there's one thing I've learned is to kind of always pay it forward. Because I'll never forget the first time we did a full-on catering event in Dubai. We were required to have some official papers, like trade license and all that. We didn't have that. So I reached out to a random stranger and I said, hey, do you mind if I can borrow your trade license? Because I have this thing. And in those days, I thought that my life relied on it. And they were kind enough to tell me, sure, go ahead. And if someone asked me today for I wouldn't do it if it was someone I didn't know. But I really appreciated that gesture. And I always remembered it very well. And I just made it a point that if and whenever someone wants advice on anything related to the industry that I'm in, I'm there. I will give you all the verbal advice. I'll tell you whatever it is you need to know, because it's all about paying it forward. I think it's all karmic, and you need to know that there are a lot of things that you need to know with, trade license registration, costing, managing staff, food costs, social media and marketing.
Oh, yes.
I think depending on what industry you're in, you need to do a full analysis study on what is going on. And I think even when you do that, Stefan, it's not 100%, it's not going to be 100%, it's just a projection of what you think is real.
Yeah, of course.
And then the rest is up to the Almighty.
Oh, well, guys, you heard that. You know? And pretty much, you know what, as a digital marketer myself, I find it very challenging because you mentioned something earlier, which was rebranding. And sometimes, let's say, when you start a business and you already have a brand image, and let's say a few years down the road, you want to change things, or maybe it came as a challenge, as yours, for instance. Also, there are some other people who choose to actually just, revamp the whole thing. That can either make or break your business.
Yeah.
And depending on the field you are in, because these days people are very visual. And let's say you change your whole image suddenly and there is no similarities in terms of the transition or anything whatsoever from a visual perspective, you can lose your audience.
Yeah.
Because the moment you confuse your audience, that's it.
True.
And it's been happening a lot these days. We see many people taking their business digital. When you look at the digital interface of the business versus the physical one, there is no correlation.
Yeah.
And then suddenly people are confused.
I'm going to add one more thing to the digital, social media world. I think it's very important, and that's something I've kind of learned I'm not going to say the hard way. I've learned it through kind of keeping an eye on social media. Is people like to see a face.
Yeah.
It's nice to see a product, but it's also very nice to see a face because you can associate with a person.
Exactly.
And for instance, our Instagram page is very visual when it comes to food.
Yeah.
But what I also realize is that when we post a picture of ourselves or a reel of ourselves in any way, shape, or form, it gets so much engagement. So people like to see the food because obviously you're a food business, but they also like to see a face associated with that food.
Yes.
So that's another thing worth mentioning. Let's just take a break and see if this thing is recording.
And by the way,
we've been trialing this for so many times.
And I hope it's been recording, by the way.
I hope it's been recording because I'm going to shoot myself if it's not.
I don't have it in me to do this.
No. Hey, we're back. Where did we leave this conversation?
Well, we're basically talking about the digital steps, okay? And you were mentioning marketing.
Sorry to interrupt. We're not blurred. That's good news.
Yeah, I hope not now. So you were talking about social media, the work that you had to do for your own company via social media, and of course how you evolved from moving from a static post towards the reels, and how you had to utilize the reels actually in terms of people wanting to see faces, okay, for example, because of course there is product, but then again people want to see the behind the scene, who are behind the product, who is working around the whole concept, okay, who is behind the brand. Because I think, like you mentioned, whenever you post something whereby people can see who is behind the product or who is behind the brand, there is more interaction.
It becomes more personal.
Exactly.
And there's one more thing that I'm going to add to this conversation is it's actually something that I'm learning now. I've learned this year. So we spoke about challenges.
Yeah.
And there's challenges every day and every year and whatever. There's always one big challenge every year. But what I will tell you, Stefan, is there's also one more thing that I'm learning right now, which is a skill that I'm trying to kind of add to the things that I do. So I'm a freak when it comes to micromanaging.
Yeah.
I like to have eyes everywhere. I want to do everything. I want to do the socials. I want to do the accounting. I want to do the day-to-day. I want to do operations. I want to do everything. And what I realize now, I've learned these skills, so you do HR, everything. And what I've learned now is you cannot do everything.
No, you can't.
You can do certain things. You'll be okay in a lot of things, but you won't be great at everything. And, knowing that, okay, if I'm doing, in my industry, I'm doing operations, if I get someone who manages operations full time, then they're going to do a 10 times better job than I am.
Absolutely.
If I get someone who can do socials, just focusing on socials, I can supervise it, but I don't have to do it.
No, you don't.
And the one key thing that I've actually realized and learned this year is that when you're a business owner, being in your business is wrong. Why? Because you get lost in it.
You sure do.
You need to be on your business. Let me repeat that. I'm still in, by the way. So I'm learning to go on. Don't be in your business, be on your business. Think about it as you being a hawk looking down at everything from the top. That is, I cannot stress on how important that is. It might not start from the beginning, but like once you kind of, get around, you'll start realizing that it's so important to kind of look at it, because that's the only way you'll be able to grow your business and scale it, if that's the field that you're in.
And this is great that you mentioned that, because when I moved to the UAE years ago, I realized that UAE versus other places where I grew up and everything and stuff, there are more micromanagers here than elsewhere, as per my own experience.
In what sense there's more micromanagers?
In terms of, let's say, companies, for example, most of the companies that I work for here, even if it's hospitality industry, there are many micromanagers.
Really?
Yeah, there are many micromanagers. And the thing is, from an employee perspective, it's really counterproductive. In which way? For instance, I'm a digital marketer, okay? And from a digital marketing perspective, when you work for a micromanager, let's say you have your CEO, and that's not even your line manager, for example. That's the CEO, but he's a micromanager.
Yeah, but I personally think that's wrong.
It is wrong at all levels. Okay?
Yeah.
Like you said, be about your business, be on your business, but don't be in your business. Because at the end of the day, you need experts to handle what they have the expertise about. So let's say if you hire someone who is good at, let's say, operation manager, for example, let him run the
do
operation,
his thing.
let him do his job,
and then that operations person can basically give you a brief or a report on what they're doing. And then if there is something that you want to comment on as a business owner or CEO, whatever you are, then you can say, this is how I want it. But then you're not getting involved in the ticks and the taps.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. So I think this is very important. So to kind of summon this, I just want to kind of give you a summary of, to start, research. Do a lot of research, understand what it is that you're doing. Know your competition, know your why. I think, that's another thing that I forgot, your why. Having or knowing your why. A lot of people in whatever industry they're in, they just start a business and they don't have a why. And knowing that is actually very important, because it answers a lot of questions that you'll have moving forward, and when you're actually representing your concept. So knowing your why, doing your research, that's the first thing. 2, being mentally ready that you're setting yourself for a journey that is, it's a commitment. So it's like having a child. Me and my business partner always say that we have a child together, and our primary goal is the wellness of our child. And that might mean that we might go into, scenarios where we kind of don't agree on certain things, but you just learn that it's a journey. So you're having a child and you're grooming it together. So that's the second thing. The third thing is
taking notes.
Yeah, I hope you are. But what was the third thing I was mentioning? It was the in it. Sorry, on it, not in it. That's also a very, very important thing. So being on it, not in it. That's
FYI, I wasn't going to come up with that at all, because every now and then I have this thing where my brain just like...
So, it gives me a poker face. I'm like, are you with me?
I was just looking at him like, okay. Yeah. So, like he said, guys, the third step is don't be in it, be on it. Okay? And at the end of the day, don't set yourself up for failure. That's what it is about. And... one more thing.
Oh, well. I just realized. No, but seriously, one more thing. I'm going to talk about failure. Actually, I think that's a very important part
Yeah.
of it's not even related to entrepreneurship. I think it's just life
In general, yeah.
I respect and I value people, and that's why I was referring to the social media before, of people showing their real face. Because when you look at people in general, they're just showing, oh, I'm great, I'm successful, I'm all that good stuff, but at the same time, it's very important to know that everyone who's successful has failed at some point.
Oh, yes.
And understanding and sharing the times where you failed is so important, because failure makes you stand up and you need to keep on walking. And that is such an essential part of success, is to fail, is to fall, is to, not beat yourself up. Because I think if you believe in if you're someone who believes in, spirituality or what's the word, destiny, you start realizing that when it comes to that, if you fall, it's just a sign from the universe telling you, listen, it's okay, this might not be your thing. There's something greater coming for you. And therefore, it's very important to not kind of dwell in that and look at all these people that are, doing great and wow, they're all so very great and successful, because you don't know what their story is. No one does. You know your story, and you are the one who's responsible for your own story. So, bam, that's where I'm ending it.
He said it, you heard it, and that's just that.
Yes.
And of course, we are both available on social media platforms. I'm Stefan Dajo and
Nav Fab Life.
Exactly.
And Nav's G.
Exactly. So guys, follow us, reach out to us, and if you need any advices whatsoever on entrepreneurship, and better yet, in the food industry, he's the guy you can talk to. He's more than willing to actually welcome you with open arms and give you the advice and tips that you need to know about this. Life is all about sharing. It's all about,
Absolutely. It's all about sharing. And I really hope that this session is going to inspire people to do their own thing and to be, aware that it's possible, and to share it with other people. Like, your experience matters, and your experience will push someone else to be inspired to do their own thing, and vice versa. So keep on passing it forward.
Exactly.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah, sure. Add it.
One last thing. I remember, like, before I started my restaurant, I used to reach out to a lot of people and say, can you give me advice on how to open a restaurant? And a lot of people would say, no, it's too hard, it's too difficult. Yeah. Don't do it. It's like, it's not worth it. And it is difficult and it is hard. But if people tell you that you cannot do it, I remember when I was registering my company, there was a guy that was giving me like a sketch of something, and he said, you know that you're going to close down within the first year, right?
Oh, wow.
I looked at him, I was like, you're selling me. You're selling. He said, yeah, but you know that you're going to close down in the first year. Here we are 7 years later, still standing.
Can I get an amen?
Amen. So don't listen, just believe in yourself and do your thing.
And a quick reminder, guys, they are whatever dreams you have, they are your dreams for a reason.
And they're valid.
Exactly. And they are valid from the moment you can conceive them.
Yeah.
Do not rely on somebody else's validation of your dream. It's not their dream, they are your dreams. Okay? So validate them yourself. And you know what? Get out there. Like I always say, keep showing up and keep showing off.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. The pleasure was all mine. This was great. And of course, stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you.